The first encounter, the galaxy border was quiet, filled only with the slow movement of stars and the glow of distant suns. The Empire's warships drifted with calm confidence, their crews certain no enemy would dare step into their territory. For hundreds of years, no one had challenged the Empire's rule. Their fleets were large, their weapons advanced, and their commanders proud, on the bridge of the Empire's flagship. Commander Veyron stood with hands behind his back. His voice was cold and full of pride. "Another patrol report," he said. "Another empty sector. Humanity hides like insects. They are no real threat," but then the silence broke. A young officer shouted from his station. "Unidentified ships detected. Sector 12 moving at high speed." The bridge turned tense, holographic screens lit up, showing tiny dots racing across the border. The officer frowned. "Only a handful of them." "Sir, very small force, no larger than a scout patrol." The crew laughed nervously. "Humans dare to send scouts into our space? Fools," one alien muttered. Commander Veyron smirked. "This will be over in minutes. Send 2 cruisers to intercept. We will capture 1 ship for study and vaporize the rest." The Empire's cruisers powered up their cannons and moved into formation. The alien soldiers relaxed, expecting an easy victory. But the moment the human scout ships entered firing range, everything changed. The first blast from the Empire's cruiser never reached its target. One of the human ships darted forward with impossible speed. Its hull shimmered with strange energy. The cruiser's cannon fire bent away as if deflected. Before the alien crew could react, the human ship released a thin beam of light. The beam sliced through the cruiser's shields and armor like it was paper. The mighty vessel exploded in silence, fire blooming against the darkness. Gasps filled the Empire's flagship. "Impossible!" shouted an officer. "1 scout ship destroyed a cruiser in a single strike." Commander Veyron's jaw tightened. "Return fire! Surround them at once." The Empire's fleet unleashed a storm of plasma fire, green bolts cutting across the void, but the human ships moved in ways no one expected. They twisted, turned, and disappeared for seconds before reappearing. Like ghosts each time they appeared, another Empire ship was torn apart. In less than 5 minutes, 3 cruisers were gone. Dozens of smaller escort ships were burning wrecks. The aliens on the flagship watched in horror as the scouts danced through their fleet. "They are not fighting like us," whispered the sensor officer. "It's like they already know our every move." The commander slammed his hand on the console. "Enough. Bring in the battleship. Crush them." The Empire's massive battleship entered the fight. Its weapons were so powerful it could destroy a city in 1 shot. The crew felt relief. Surely this single ship could erase a handful of human scouts. But the humans did not run. Instead, they closed in, flying dangerously close to the battleship's hull. Its huge cannons could not target them. The human ships released bursts of energy, carving through the battleship's armor. Within minutes, the great vessel was crippled, fires spreading across its decks. The bridge of the Empire flagship fell silent. Fear crept into the hearts of every officer. How can scouts do this?" one whispered. Commander Veyron's face turned pale. For the first time in his long career, he felt doubt. "If this is what they call scouts," he muttered, almost to himself, "then what does their real army look like?" The battle ended as quickly as it began. The human ships pulled back, drifting silently at the edge of the battlefield. They did not chase the fleeing Empire ships. They only hovered as if sending a message. The silence was worse than the destruction. The alien officers stared at the holograms of ruined ships, their minds filled with fear. The survivors whispered among themselves, "Scouts, only scouts. And they destroyed us like nothing." Commander Veyron clenched his fists. His pride shattered. He gave no orders, for there were no orders left to give. The truth had already settled in the minds of every alien on that bridge. The Empire had not fought humanity's army. They had only met its scouts. And even those few had left terror burning in the hearts of the galaxy. Panic in the command hall. The Empire's flagship drifted in silence, the smell of burned circuits still filling the air. The crew spoke in whispers, their voices shaking as they watched the wreckage of their own fleet scatter across the void. Dozens of their proud warships were now broken shells, destroyed by nothing more than a small group of human scouts. Inside the command hall, the mood was worse than death. Officers sat frozen at their stations, unable to believe what they had just seen. Reports streamed in, each one worse than the last. "Cruiser division destroyed," one officer said with a trembling voice. "Battleship Crippled, life signs falling fast, another whispered. The human ships, they suffered no losses, added a third. His eyes wide with fear. Commander Varen stood in the center, his jaw locked, his body rigid. He was known for his arrogance, for his calm in battle. But now his hands trembled against the console. He could not hide the truth. His entire force had been defeated by a handful of enemies. The alien generals and admirals connected through holographic screens. Their faces appeared one after another. Commanders from across the sector, each one demanded answers. What happened out there, Varen? One barked. You commanded 12 cruisers and a battleship. Are you saying scouts destroyed an entire fleet? Another shouted. Disbelief turning to anger, Varen forced his voice steady. Yes, scouts, at least that's what their signal codes identified. They called themselves a reconnaissance patrol. Nothing more. The command hall exploded in noise. Some laughed in denial. Others shouted accusations, but beneath it all, there was fear, raw and growing. They are lying, one general argued. No scout patrol has such power. They are testing us, another whispered, his voice low. This was no invasion. This was a warning. The younger officers began to whisper among themselves. Their words spread like poison. If this is just a warning, then what happens when the full human fleet arrives? Commander Varen slammed his hand down. Enough. His voice echoed, but even he could not erase the fear from the room. His eyes darted to the reports flashing across the screens. Plasma fire bent aside. Shields cut through. Maneuvers that defied physics. It was all recorded, undeniable. Perhaps, Varen muttered, his voice low, we are facing a civilization we do not understand. The room went silent. Every alien officer stared at him. The Empire had always seen humanity as weak. A species too young, too small to matter, but now, the evidence stood in burning wreckage. One intelligence officer spoke up. We intercepted fragments of human communication during the battle. We are decoding it now. The hall leaned forward, desperate for answers. A moment later, a chilling message echoed through the speakers, simple and calm in tone. This is Patrol Unit Sigma 9. Mission complete, returning to base, enemy resistance minimal. The words were like knives in the command hall. Patrol Unit Scouts, minimal resistance. The silence that followed was worse than screams. The aliens realized the humans were not even trying. They had fought as if it was practice. One admiral's face turned pale in the hologram. If this was minimal resistance, then we are already defeated. Panic rippled across the room. Officers spoke at once, some demanding retreat, some calling for full mobilization. The sound of fear filled the command hall until it drowned out reason. We must call for reinforcements. Warn the Emperor. No. If we show weakness, the humans will strike harder. They already destroyed us. Weakness is already shown. Varen's voice cut through the storm. Quiet. Do you not see? This was their plan. They wanted us to panic. And they succeeded. But even as he said the words, Varen knew the truth in his heart. He was not calming them. He was lying to himself. Humanity's scouts had fought with precision and power greater than anything he had ever witnessed. If this was only a test, then the galaxy itself was in danger. He stared at the holographic stars beyond the glass walls of the command hall, his thoughts heavy. If they come with real fleets, he whispered under his breath, the Empire will burn. The officers around him heard his words. Some froze, some trembled, and in that moment they all understood. The age of Empire pride was over. A new fear had risen, not from gods, not from ancient monsters, but from a species once dismissed as nothing, humanity, and they had only shown their scouts. The hidden message. The command hall of the Empire's flagship was filled with cold silence. Every alien officer sat frozen, staring at the screens where fragments of human transmissions still echoed. The simple words refused to leave their minds. Patrol Unit Sigma 9. Mission complete, enemy resistance minimal, minimal resistance. The phrase burned like fire. 12 cruisers and a battleship reduced to wreckage, and the humans called it minimal. Commander Varen's hands shook slightly as he gripped the edge of the console. He tried to hide his fear, but his voice betrayed him. We must know more. Bring me the full transmission. Decode everything now. The intelligence team worked in silence, their screens filled with broken signals, alien symbols clashing with human code. Finally, one officer looked up, his face pale. Sir, this was not the only message. There was more. The room held its breath as the second recording began to play. The human voice was calm, almost casual. Scout patrol reports completed. No serious opposition found. Recommend sector cleared for main fleet operations. Estimated time, 3 cycles. Every officer felt their blood run cold. Main fleet operations, 3 cycles. The humans were not only stronger, they were preparing. A younger officer whispered, 3 cycles, that is only 3 weeks in our time. In 3 weeks, their real fleet arrives. His voice cracked. And if this was only scouts... Silence. Varen barked, but his voice lacked power. His own thoughts were poisoned with the same fear. He had seen their weapons bend physics. He had seen their ships dance around plasma fire. He had seen his fleet burn, and yet the humans had treated it like a simple drill. The holograms of high-ranking admirals flickered with unease. Their usual arrogance was gone, replaced with doubt. If humanity sends a main fleet into our space, one admiral muttered. We cannot stop them. Not with our current defenses, another admiral shouted back. We are the Empire. We have ruled for centuries. Our enemies fall before our fleets. But his words rang hollow. Everyone in the hall knew it. The intelligence officer interrupted again. There is one more part of the human transmission, a direct message. Encrypted but aimed at us, the hall froze. Eyes widened. No one breathed. Slowly, the recording began to play. This is a scout patrol of the Terran Defense Force. We are not here to invade, we are here to observe. What you faced was not an army. What you faced was not even a fraction of our power. Consider this a warning, leave humanity in peace, or face what comes next. The words echoed like thunder across the command hall. A warning, calm but final, the humans had not shouted. They had not threatened with anger instead. They had spoken with quiet certainty, as if their strength was beyond question. The alien officers exchanged terrified glances. Some whispered prayers. Others shook their heads in disbelief. One of the younger commanders spoke, his voice trembling. They knew we were listening. They wanted us to hear this. Varen turned slowly, his eyes sharp. Yes, this was no accident. They wanted fear to spread, and it has. Look at us, already breaking, already doubting, but even as he spoke, he knew the truth. The humans had not needed spies. They had not needed infiltration. They had created fear simply by existing, simply by sending scouts. The Admiral's holograms flickered with rising panic. We must alert the Emperor at once, one demanded. He must know humanity is not what we believed, no. Another shouted, if we admit this, we show weakness. The Emperor will strip us of command. Better stripped of command than stripped of life when the human fleets arrive. The hall erupted in chaos, officers shouting, arguments breaking. Some demanded retreat from the border. Others demanded immediate war. But none of them truly believed victory was possible anymore. In the middle of the noise, Varen felt a chill run through him. He remembered the look of the human ships, the way they moved like predators in the dark, the way their weapons sliced through his proud fleet as if it was made of paper. He clenched his fists, whispering words no commander of the Empire had dared to say before. They are stronger than us. The words slipped out, soft but deadly. The noise in the hall stopped instantly. Dozens of eyes turned to him, shocked, some in anger, some in silent agreement, but none denied it. The hidden message had done its work. It was not just a warning. It was a shadow cast over the Empire's pride, a reminder that what they had seen was nothing compared to what was coming. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt the weight of fear. Humanity was no longer a forgotten species at the edge of the stars. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy would listen. The shattered illusion. The command hall no longer felt like the proud heart of the Empire. It felt like a cage. Every officer sat tense, their eyes fixed on the holograms of ruined ships still drifting in space. The human scouts had gone, but their shadow remained heavy for centuries. The Empire believed itself untouchable. Its fleet stretched across half the galaxy, its soldiers obeyed without question, and its commanders carried the illusion that no species could ever challenge them. But that illusion was now cracking. Commander Varen broke the silence first. His voice was sharp but hollow. We cannot allow this message of weakness to spread. If the other races learn that human scouts destroyed our fleet, rebellions will rise everywhere. An admiral's hologram flickered, his face pale. And if humanity sends more than scouts? What if they send their fleets? What if they strike the Empire's core worlds? The officers exchanged uneasy glances. No one dared answer. Varen forced his tone hard. We will show strength. We will strike back now. We will hunt these scouts down before they return to their masters. Order every warship in the sector, mobilize. A murmur of relief spread through the command hall, not because they believed they could win, but because action felt safer than silence. Within hours, the Empire gathered a second fleet, larger than before, 20 cruisers, 2 battleships, and dozens of escorts. Their pride was at stake. The operation was simple: corner the humans, crush them, prove to the galaxy the Empire was still supreme. But when the fleet jumped into the sector where the humans had last been seen, there was nothing. Only wreckage from the first battle drifting in silence. No human ships in sight, scanners show. Nothing, an officer whispered, confusion in his voice. Varen frowned. They can't have vanished, spread formation. Sweep the sector. The Empire's fleet spread out, searchlights cutting through the void. Then the first scream came. A cruiser exploded at the edge of formation. Fire and metal scattering across the stars. No warning, no signal, just instant destruction, enemy fire. Where did it come from? Shouted an officer. Another cruiser vanished, then another. The humans were striking from nowhere, invisible in the darkness. Panic rippled across the comms. They are not on scanners. They are ghosts. Shields failing. Weapons useless. They are inside our formation, impossible. The Empire's 2 battleships opened fire, their massive cannons tearing through space, but they hit nothing. The humans moved faster than sensors could track. Their weapons cut with surgical precision every few seconds. Another Empire ship was reduced to burning fragments. On the flagship's bridge, Varen shouted orders, but his voice was drowned by chaos. Titan formation, protect the battleships. But his words came too late. One battleship shuddered as a beam carved straight through its armored hull, splitting the giant in half. The explosion lit up the void like a sun. The crew on the flagship watched in horror. This can't be real, whispered one officer, tears in his eyes. This can't be only scouts. In less than 20 minutes, the second fleet was reduced to wreckage. Only a handful of ships survived, fleeing blindly into the stars. The command hall was silent again, but this silence was different. It was not shock, it was despair. The illusion of Empire strength was gone, shattered before their eyes. Varen gripped the console. His knuckles white, he wanted to deny it, to believe it was trickery, but the truth burned too deep. They had thrown everything at a handful of humans, and still they had lost. One officer finally spoke, his voice shaking. Commander, if this was only a patrol, then humanity's fleets will destroy us all. Another whispered. We are not the hunters anymore. We are the prey. The words hung in the air, unchallenged. No one argued, no one dared. The Empire's pride had carried them for centuries. But now that pride was shattered, what stood in its place was fear. Cold, unrelenting fear of a species they once thought beneath notice. Varen stared out into the void, his voice low, almost broken. We are no longer fighting to win. We are fighting to survive. And across the stars, in the silence where the human scouts had disappeared, a terrifying truth grew louder in every alien heart. Humanity had not even begun. Humanity's silent warning. The wreckage of 2 great fleets floated in silence. The stars themselves seemed to watch in judgment as the Empire's shattered warships drifted without life. Among the ruins, only a few survivors escaped, their ships limping away, broken and terrified, on the flagship. Commander Varen sat motionless. His hands shook as he stared at the battlefield. Once proud, once unshakable, the Empire's military might had been reduced to ashes by only a handful of human scouts. The officers around him did not speak. They had no words left. Their faces were pale, their eyes empty. Pride was gone, honor was gone, only fear remained. Then a sound broke the silence. A transmission, faint but clear. Incoming signal. Sir, whispered the communications officer, his voice trembled. It's from the humans. Every officer froze. The room seemed colder. No one dared to breathe as the message began to play. The voice was human, calm and steady, not cruel, not mocking, but filled with a confidence that cut deeper than any weapon. You fought well, the voice said, but you did not fight us. What you faced were only scouts. Their task is observation, not conquest. If scouts can break your fleets, imagine what will happen if you force our fleets to come. This is not a threat, this is a warning. Leave humanity in peace, or you will learn what war truly means. The hall was dead silent. The humans had spoken few words, but each one carried the weight of an empire's collapse. One officer whispered, almost in tears, They are not even trying to frighten us. They are simply telling the truth. The Admiral's holograms flickered in again. Their faces gray with dread. No one argued anymore. The arrogance of centuries had been destroyed in 2 battles. The fear of humanity was now carved into their souls. Varen clenched his fists, but there was no strength left in his voice. He could only whisper, "They call this peace." He looked up, his eyes heavy with despair. "But I know the truth they are holding back, waiting, and when they arrive, the galaxy will not survive." The transmission ended with no demands. No conquest, only silence. But that silence was heavier than the destruction of fleets. For the Empire now understood. Humanity did not need to shout. Their silence was the threat. Across the Empire's communication networks, rumors spread like fire. Stories of human scouts destroying fleets reached colonies. Governors and soldiers, whispers grew into terror. If scouts are this strong, what will their armies do? Rebellions stirred in the outer systems. Alien races once crushed under the Empire's rule began to rise again. Sensing weakness, the myth of Empire invincibility had died, and in its place, the legend of humanity was born. Far beyond, on hidden channels, the humans watched in silence. Their scouts reported back. Missions complete, they did not celebrate. They did not boast. For them, it was simply another step in their long defense. But for the galaxy, it was a nightmare. Varen turned to his broken officers. His voice was hoarse. "Mark my words. The humans gave us mercy tonight. They warned us instead of ending us, but if we test them again, there will be no mercy." The command hall remained quiet. Every officer knew his words were true. Every one of them felt the same cold truth in their hearts. The Empire, rulers of the stars for centuries, had been humbled not by armies, not by fleets, but by a handful of human scouts. The humans had left only silence behind, but that silence was the loudest warning the galaxy had ever heard.